Evening, folks. Welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. Oh dear heck. Alzheimer Joe's resigned and he's not playing out anymore. Kingston's got shot. What a complete and utter crap that were. I mean, for goodness sake. And now it's the right ear means you can't. An injury to the right ear, you're consecrated. God's sake. Oh, God grief. I mean, come on. Is anybody buying this shite? Well, Alex Jones is. Isn't he? They're like, oh, everybody get your guns out, start shooting everybody immediately. And we've got what? Sir Jimmy Savile's vagina now running the old UK. And riots, by golly. Riots set off by the police by nicking 5 kids. Not really very good, that is it. But not excusing the riots, of course. But if you really want to cause trouble, go and nick 5 kids in front of everybody. Then send in the police and then run away. Run away and go, ah, run away, run away. I think that's called dereliction of duty. Which means, ladies and gentlemen, you're not getting a service. Which means, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to be paid council tax. Because you're supposed to be paying for a service from police, fire, and Lancashire County Council, if you're in Lancashire. Which, of course, is dissolved and doesn't exist anymore. So, fraud everywhere. It's fraud, fraud on fraud, and some more fraud just to be sure. It's just not very good. It's a mess. And it's a big mess. And nobody seems to pay attention because they're all busy focusing on whatever it is they've been up to in the last 4 years. And if you took the old dance of the last gig, you're pretty obsessed with that, like you are, and the fact that you can't get up, you can't sleep, you've got this bug, that bug, this is happening, that's happening, you're shitting scared, and now they want choreographies for the next dance, apparently. Facebook didn't like that, so they took it down. But there you go. It seems to be all going on everywhere. Riots, I tell you. I mean, it's not very good, that is it? Let's be honest. Riots? No, we don't want to be doing that line of malarkey. It's not a good idea. So, police are obviously useless. They're pussies. They've all got pussies in there now. LBGQ, ginger, confused. And, of course, now, if they see any violence of any sort, they run away. They're all right coming around your house, telling you off, sending you letters, if you've posted something online. They're not scared. They're not scared because there's a chance wife might go to the door, or it flea bags. Well, they're not scared then. But, any riots, shit themselves off. So, what does that tell you? What does that tell you about the state of Sir Jimmy Savile's Vaginas UK? It's only going to get worse. I haven't seen him make any comment on it yet. I saw West Yorkshire Police statement telling everybody to shut up, don't talk about it because it might excite the right wing. And they might come round and shout at you out your door. Some flossy, that, in a uniform. You can't make this stuff up. Unfortunately, it's happening. It's happening everywhere. And these Muslims are a bit too easy to get excited over there in Leeds. Not a good idea, that. It really isn't. You know, really seeing the bigger picture, chaps. Which, of course, we're going to look at tonight. Because I'm going to actually give you... I mean, we broke into it last week. Very important data. But this week, I'm going to give you what nobody else has ever given you. Because they're giving you fantasy and nonsense and garbage. Or they're saying, come on, listen to me, I know the crack. Pay me some money. Pay me some money first and I'll tell you. If you're lucky. And then you pay your money and they don't tell you. But we don't do that here. We do not do that here in the Wise Asylum. We just tell you. So I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you reality as it is in the big wide world. I'm going to give you exactly what's going on. Take it or leave it, I don't really care. But I'm going to tell you tonight exactly what is happening. End of story. That's the Sunday sermon that's coming. Anyway, who's joined us tonight? Because I've not really done much apart from lots of law this week. So we've not really put a live stream together apart from the Sunday sermon, and I've got a few little bits because there's some interesting data about why these riots might have kicked off so quickly. Which, of course, works in sync with what we knew after the LA riots, because that's where they tested it. So we'll have a look at that and just see what you think. Because they've not spent billions and billions and billions on all these little shitbags called OpenReach, little flea bags, putting in this system. It's obviously got a use. Otherwise, I mean, you know, they can't pretend now, can they, that, oh my God, you've had internet for 20 years, but you need this now for internet. They can't do that, can they? Well, they probably could, even most people will believe it, but if you're smart, then you obviously know that this system they put in here has got absolutely nothing to do with internet. It's got absolutely nothing to do with telephones. It's something else. It's something else, and it's very, very important because they're spending billions. And there's lots and lots and lots and lots of little shitbags and shitesses happy to work for OpenReach and put it in because they're thick. They're just concerned about the money. Oh, look what I'm earning, and I'm fantastic conservative engineer. I work with wires. I put wires in screws and things like that because I'm smart. Well, I've always said plumbers and electricians, they are the new world order because they obey every rule going. Oh, well, you can't do it. Oh, no, we can't do that. It's against regulations. Whereas us builders, we make our own regulations up because we already know what crack is. We don't listen to these Masonic systems that lay out all these rules and regulations so that the brothers who've just invented something for the building trade and say, we need to sell this, and they all go, right, it's regulation now, you can't use this kind of installation, you have to use this Kingspan, and it costs you 14 million quid. Because they invented it. And said, oh, we want to make some money out of this, so we'll make it a regulation. And that's what they do. And plumbers and electricians are the pit bulls. Always said that. They don't clean up after themselves. Filthy, disgusting. And a bit like OpenReach people, really. Think they're somewhat special and all that malarkey. Actually, when it comes down to it, they're just obedient slaves. This is why they get chosen for those particular trades. Anyway, never mind that, because I'll probably not get no electricians and plumbers wanted to work for me anymore, so it's a good job I can do my own plumbing, innit? Never mind. I'm going to say now. Who's joined us before we get into the sermon? And it's just the most important thing on the planet. I don't care what anybody says or thinks. You can do fantasy if you like. This is where it's going. I'm going to tell you exactly what crack is. And you can either take it on board. You know, if you take it on board, then you're going to see. And you're not only going to see, you're going to move out. Everything you do from now on is going to be because you know the crack. So, you're going to be proper PhDs by the end of tonight. Oh, yeah. So, Jerry says, hi, Sean, and the Wise Asylum. Hello, Jerry. Jace, oh, he's here. He's on. Guten Tag, Übermenschen. Guten Tag to thee. Jace, the lurker. Slipknot says, alright, Sean, Jackie, Gary, and everyone, alright, Slipknot. The Lone Rizzler. The Lone Rizzler. Oh, yeah. Says, evening all, evening Sean, good evening to you, Lone Rizzler. PY Music, where were you last week? Skiving, by the way. Evening Paul. And a Space Hop in Mark says, how do, back. Lex says, evening Sean and all at the Wise Asylum, good evening Lex. Cause 1973, the hand, the alien, the howdy, the space rocket, and the moon. And it is a full moon. And there's some interesting stuff going on up there in the old sky, according to Claudio. Untitled says, Sean and all, Jace Ventura 2, Erdling. I'll take it that. Who's told speaking German to each other, you know, you two, what? And Paul says, good evening, Sean, and everyone. Good evening to you, Paul. Guitar Girl says, evening, everyone. Evening to you, Guitar Girl. Jerry gives it the old laughing, and I think that's a monkey. A laughing monkey. Happy Camper says, evening all. Happy evening to you, Happy Camper. Lex says, it was the Romanian rioting in Leeds. What pictures have you been seeing? No, China. It might have kicked off that way, but I can assure you, it was joined in very quickly by an absolutely shed load of the old Muslim brothers, and one of the councillors who the left are all putting up as the saviour, because he actually was trying to shop them, but fair dues. But when he actually got elected, we're giving it the big all the nonsense-y thing, so I don't know what's going on there. But I think it was just a case of, oh, let's get out there, we can do some rioting and looting. So it doesn't matter who it were, it was just fruitcakes looking for a bit of trouble. And apparently they got it. But of course, you look at the game, the police, they set that up. That were a complete setup. And then run away. Run away like little girly bitches. Did you see that? I've never seen anything so pathetic in my entire life. Who are these people that you're paying for with your council tax? Because they don't serve you. They serve the corporate. Why are you paying? Fire girls, they don't serve you anymore. If you have a fire, they'll come marching into your garden. Because the corporate says they can. They don't serve you. They serve the corporate. You know? Here's how you got to start seeing it. They're saying to you, you're paying for services. What services? The only thing they actually do is take bins away. That's it. Nothing else. They don't do anything apart from aggravate you, call your names, and wreck your town. Think about it, people. And then they demand you pay council tax for a service that you're not getting. How thick are we? Are we thick? You betcha. June says, good evening, Sean, and chat, good evening, June. Jew, come on, Sean, let's have it large. We're going to have it large tonight. We are. Big time. Evening to you, Jew. Jerry says, June, and yeah, okay. June says, Jerry, oh, okay. Lex says, I'm a builder as well, Sean. Permitted development all the way. Absolutely, Lex. Absolutely. The builders. We are the men. We are the boys. The rest of them are just old pussies. Happy Camper. They were Burr and did arrest a woman who was against what was going on. A woman. Yeah, a woman. They're brave. Bloody brave, these coppers, man, I'm telling you. I mean, have you seen them, though? Have you seen them? They're not like they used to be. They were some of the better back in the day, and they had to have an high IQ. Didn't mean we liked them. We didn't ever like them, but at least they had high IQ, and they weren't scared. Again, it stuck in if they had to. But now, you've just got a bunch of bum fluffs with uniforms on. That's it. They don't do anything. But they're serving, remember? The inspectors. Noah Hyde, judge, slaves. 21st degree, Scottish Rite, Freemasonry. And they have a king and a queen. Was it to do with England? Save for the fact that all they were fruit bats. I've signed an oath to that entity and dragged our state in. But we're going to get into this in a minute. Liam Trees. Hello, says Liam. Hello, Liam. The Lone Rizzler says, I'm a Sparky and I'm always arguing the regs and the H&S, but we're also the most watched. Well, that's true. I mean, you know, I did a lot of plastering back in the day, and I have actually danced on walls occasionally when the electricians left a bit of a wire there, and I've put my skim on, and I'm dancing on the wall. It did skim it quicker, I have to say. But yeah, they do watch you. I mean, of course, I'm being facetious, guys. We do love you electricians and plumbers, really. But you're loaded up with all the rules and regulations, let's be honest. Whereas us builder boys, we just crack on. We know the crack. I think last time an health and safety guy tried to tell me something, I basically said to him, if you don't fuck off, I'll arrest you and I'll use the same force as the police. And he actually laughed at me. I've never heard that before, and went. And I thought, oh, fair news. So they just don't. They know not to mess about. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. New says the Romanian man setting fire to the buzz has been arrested. Hello everyone, I've been slammed for saying I saw Muslims joining in the disturbances. Well, there were tons of them. Just an excuse to jump in. But I mean, we're looking at idiots, and what we have to work out is this. The way the system's operating, it wants division between the Christians and the Muslims. That's what it wants. And there's far too many idiots amongst the Muslims that like to do these kind of things. Now, that's not being abusive. It's a fact that there are far too many of those people that are happy to jump onto that kind of stuff as quick as a flash. And we have to recognise that. I mean, and as I said before, I live in Accrington. We have a huge Muslim population here. I'm not seeing any of that here. I mean, I do know there are groups of them that are into that. But they think they're secret. You're not a secret. We know exactly who we are. All of us. We know who we are. But the majority of Muslims here, they're not into this kind of stuff. They're chilled. We have a laugh. I speak to every single one of them when I'm walking in and out where I live. There's no issue. They're what you call Muslims. They're not idiots. But there are a big percentage of idiots, especially in Bradford and Leeds and Rochdale and other areas where they're happy to be stupid and pull into this garbage rhetoric that we're seeing creeping up from down south, where they're like Brainot Road, which is a breach of English law. It's obstruction of the highway. You can't do that. It's the same with these eco protesters that they're all crying about. If you're going to stand in the road, you're obstructing the highway. Just because the police have derelicted duty and not taking you away, it's the right of every highway user to kick the shit out and knock you off. It's a right. You can't cry about it after. I like what they did in Germany. They got fed up with him gluing their hand to Trimark and then having to spend all day getting it off. So they just went a big square around his hand and let him go with a big sheet of asphalt stuck to his hand and said, you deal with it. That's the right way to do it. And then charge him for mess they've made on road. On highway, rather. That's the way it is. You see, because the police are no longer constables, they're not operating on the highway, they're operating for the corporate on the roads where they can collect money. And we keep saying this and people go, yeah, we know this, but you've got to get it in your head. These people are pretending to be a constable. It's called impersonating a constable. There's a jail sentence for that. Who's enforcing it? Because people just think, oh... No, I mean, if you really want England to come back, you have to become England. It's the way it is, otherwise it's not going to work. You can't have it always. These people, you can't depend on them to do anything other than further install this communist Bolshevik corporate system. So it's communism plus fascism together. So it's going to be even worse than we've experienced and seen before, if they can crack it off. And we've got Sir Jimmy Vagina. Sir Jimmy's Vagina now in. He's the biggest Bolshevik prick you've ever seen. I mean, I don't like this guy. I think I don't think he's a full shilling. I think he's full of alters and properly programmable, to be honest. That's what I see in him. See in his eyes. He's not right. But I suppose the future will show you that, and then you can see it. Where are we there? Good evening, enjoying the vids, thanks, says DJ from 88. Hello, DJ from 88. Good year, good year. My grandma told me about it because, of course, I'm only 22, so I don't know. I won't do it. Simpson says, Jerry, what's the sorry for? I don't understand. What are you sorry for? Have you been naughty? We had our riot police batter and pepper spray people for nothing. Well, that's the thing. There were no riot police there. Did you see? It were just flosses and bumfluffs. There were no riot police there, but you get English out there and, oh, fuck me, you'll have the whole fucking squad out. Can you see that? That what's happening here is the state itself is suppressing England in favour of every subculture going. Anybody and his dog, as long as you're not English. You've got to start to recognise this. You can't just keep sitting on your laurels and pretend it's not happening. It is happening. Because there's no opposition to it. The bully. What does the bully do? He keeps on going until he gets banged on the nose. Then he stops. Because they are bullies. They're just pussies that railroad it because nobody's saying anything and stopping it. Where are we? Jerry says, pepper spray people for nothing. And when there was one, they'd done a fake charge for cameras. Well, I mean, people need to wake up to realise that these people are no longer operating for you. Why are you paying for them? The councils are collecting this council tax as billing authorities. There's no liability orders because they don't exist for council tax. Formula were taken out in 2003. It's a farce. Everything they do is a fraud. The courts are in it as well, completely. They're all in the fraud. I mean, what I've witnessed in this last 3 months, 4 months, whatever, it's beyond belief what these people are doing. And as I've said, these are English people. It's so embarrassing that these people are the people that you looked up to when you were perhaps growing up, because they were civil servants, they were in the judiciary, and they look like middle-class people. These people are fucking evil. I'm not joking. It's unbelievable how they play this game. It's why I stopped going down to the politics side of things. I used to sit there listening to these dicks talk shit like infants. The only thing I wanted to do was give them a good hiding, as you would do as a dad. I had to stop. I've stopped doing it because they're just pathetic. They're all full of shit. They're swapping about from one party to another and think it's all right. You either believe in something or you don't. And then all of a sudden, they're all jumping on this other bandwagon, which is, fuck England, it's all about Palestine and Israel. In America, it's about Palestine and Israel. In Europe, it's about Palestine and Israel. Global politics today has been completely overturned because nobody's considering their own country's politics. It's all about this two sides. Palestine, Israel. By default is Muslims and Jews. Look at what's happening around you. That is the narrative today. It's got nothing to do with your nation, your culture, and nothing. It's about Muslims, Palestine, Jews, Israel. It's ridiculous that that's happening. And all these fruitcakes in our civil service are playing and pandering to it. And you wonder what's gone wrong. And you think it's going to change. It's not going to change. You have to be the change. It's not going to work otherwise. You're just going to... You know what I'm talking about anyway. Where are we there? Space Up Mark says, I'm a plasterer. Are you a skimmer? Good man. Yeah, I ran a plastering corner for years. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. But I can do all trades, so... I don't do as much plastering these days, to be fair. You have to be fit, haven't you? And to be honest, I don't do enough of it. You're all right. Plastering, you have to do about 3 months to get your body in fit, and then you're off. You're flying it on all the time. But Doing refurbishment now, which is what I do. I don't tend to do much plastering, but if it's there, I'll do it. You know, it's not a problem. Yeah, it'll keep you fit there, Space Hopper. The loanraiser says, you fucking spreads. Always cutting off markings off. I leave cables hanging on, skimming over, and we curl them up in the box. Well, you might do, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. I mean, I once got Sparky kept farting, kept coming up to me and farting. And I'd said to him, look, mate, I said, I don't mind having a crack with you. I said, but please don't do that. I don't like that kind of stuff. And he kept doing it. So I found the most awkward point of his old rings and I cut these wires. And they couldn't then find it. They couldn't find it. I were nice to him and I asked him, I said, don't do that. You know, I'll let crack with you all day, but don't come up to me and fart because it's disgusting. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's always a battle between sparkies and plasterers, isn't there? Because we do like to gob up your sockets. But I always clean them. I always clean your sockets spotless. You wouldn't even know I'd been there, apart from the fact that you've got a beautifully smooth wall. But I know your pain. I know your pain there. I try not to get mud into box. Well, I don't care. I get it in, but then I get it out. And that seems to satisfy all round. But then it does not look worse, does it, when you've skimmed up and box is not right. Box is skew with. And then they'll say, you've moved it. I said, no, I haven't. And you know you haven't. But they go, ugh. Oh yeah, there's fun games going on in there between plasters and sparkies. Bradford City of Culture next year. Oh, brilliant. Happy Camper says, a local tip now demanding that everyone goes online and gets a permit or they can't use the tip. Said it was because people were coming from the other areas to use the tip and that was costing. Well, they're always going to control the tips, the waste, because it's actually the only service they actually do. That's the only thing they actually do in relation to council and the public. They don't do anything else. They're not fixing the roads. They're not even cleaning them. You get all these little new news come out, don't they, when it's election time. Then they're out everywhere keeping everything spotless. But basically, they have to totally control the waste because it's the actual only service that they can actually say, oh, we take your bins. Well, you take the bins because we'll just throw it all over roads otherwise, and then we'll all be living in stink. The loanraiser says, cheers, Mark. Jenny says, sorry, Sean, that was in Coolock, Dublin, I was talking about. Oh, right, sorry, mate, yeah. Well, there seems to be a lot more effort going on there over there in Ireland, but then the Irish are always, you'll only take so much, whereas the English are quite pathetic. And I've been since the, 80s, I think. You know, 70s, 80s, police wouldn't get out the vans on a weekend. They'd just sit in the van shitting themselves because there were thousands of marauding males all over the show, pissed as farts. And same football Saturdays, you know, there were millions and millions of males pissed up, roaming every city and every town, screaming and shouting football chants. It's, you know, they've really gone to town over since 80s on, and criminal justice bill were probably one of the biggest killers of English freedoms by far. And unfortunately, the rave music were a big part of that. Even though the criminal justice bill were created before they released the acid house kind of stuff as a big scene anyway. I Love Dog says, I'm behind. He, the dancing skimmer. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's happened a few times. Yeah. Worst I ever did though, we're mixing compo in a mixer. And obviously it's all piss wet through everywhere. And I put my shoulder down and I put it right through cable and we're dancing. Now that were a good one because it took me a while to get out of water to stop dancing. So that were a good shock to system. But to be honest, I do seem to handle shocks quite well. Because I used to be a vulcaniser when I was a young'un. And my mate, he used to hide under me rack with a live and a neutral. And when I went past, he'd stick it on my bollocks and you'd be like that. And I remember one time manager had rewired this thing and I got there in the morning. So I got hold of me run and the whole factory were going on and off all lights. And I couldn't let go. And that probably went on for about 3 minutes. So I don't seem to have, it doesn't seem to have too much of an effect on me, a bit of an electric shock, to be honest. It actually wakes me up. Yeah, I've danced on the walls a few times. KK says, "Hiya folks, I sincerely wish there were more Indigenous here. The shit now is beyond despicable. They aren't the Indigenous reclaiming their freedoms." Exactly, because they're pathetically stupid. They're stupid. There's just something seriously gone wrong here. But then you look at the state of the play. The boys are like puffs. They're like, it's obscene how. So I were at gym a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, there's more girls in there giving it the big. And I watched this couple. They were this young couple, in maybe about 18 or 19, and they look like they were middle class, but girl were giving it plenty, and boys like this. And I watched them because I couldn't help it because they were like always near where I work. And she was giving it hell for leather on one of these machines, and he's on this chest press. And I watched him, and he's like, oh. And he must have had like 2 kg going on this thing. And she looked over and she said, "Are you all right?" He went, "Oh, I think I've just pulled my muscle." And he was like nearly crying. And I'm like, fucking hell. The girls have become the boys in the younger generation. It's ridiculous. And what's happened to Generation X, I don't know. I fucking don't know. And I put up a piece on the Facebook the other day, statistics. The majority of people in Accrington are between 50 and 59, so that's Generation X. What the fuck's happened? What has happened? I think what it is the most lively of the Generation X got into drugs in 80s and 90s, and they're either dead, or they're alcoholics, or they're in nick. And we're left around with old pussies. I think that's what's happened. Or they've been scooped up with Masonic or some other fruit bat operation. Now they have to keep their mouth shut because they've took also all over it, sure. And sit back believing that they're going to benefit from this breakaway civilization when clearly they've not read the doctrines of the rabbis. Because you're not. You're just there for a time until you're not needed anymore. And now they've got you on the game thinking you're getting the placebo. Well, you'll get it until they don't need you anymore, and then all of a sudden it'll be a completely different mix. And that's it, they'll get rid. But honestly, it is a joke, it really is, but there's a reason why this is happening, and I'm going to go into this in a bit. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening and what's happened, but more importantly, where we're going to go, because it's important that we can see this. Now, most people are going to go, I don't give a shit. This is about what's happening in reality, not about what you believe, your fucking prejudices and stuff like that. It's about this is what's happening. Where are we going here? I know I'm preaching to the choir, exactly. But that's good. But there are loads of other people watching as well that come in new, and they're not the choir. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, and that's no problem. Lex says, you just need to speed skim if you only do it now and then. Speed skim is a game changer. What? What do you mean with these new fancy old machines and that? Oh, we're old school, man. No. I have actually I've used them, and I have to say on the ceilings they're actually quite. But then I could put a ceiling on, like it's piss. It's nothing. Just stick a ceiling on. You know, I've been doing it for a long time. It's not hard to do it the old way. But speed skimming, I take it you're talking about these new machines that are all funny on me. Yeah, fair dues, but. Where are we there? Israel and Palestine will be friends before sparkles and spreads do. Well, we're going to get an insight into what's going on there. Let's not mention the painter-plasterer relationship. Well, Mew, the thing is, painters fucking love me. See, this is the thing. I used to go on a job with one wet brush for flicking. And I'd come off that job with 10. Because every painter would come in and say, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I don't even have to get my filler out. Here, I've one of these." And I'd come off job with 10 million new brushes. So I never had any problem with painters. They loved me. Absolutely fucking loved me. So there you go. But I do know what you're saying. The Lone Rizzer says, "Mew, I concur." Yeah. Sean, did you get my email last Sunday? Need some advice? Can you send another? Where did you send it? I'll tell you what's happening with my emails at the moment. Everything's spamming. I have to check all the time he's spamming. My daughter sent me 2 sets of emails this week, and I got one, thought that were it, but when I got up in the morning, because I do check my spam, one had gone in spam. So the spam, everything's just, I think it's because of this council tax thing that I'm dealing with at the moment, everything's just gone a bit haywire. So, what did you send me? Because I have had quite a lot of emails this week, but honestly, I'm so fixed to this, what I'm doing at the moment. It's difficult to put my mind into anything else right now. Every day is a school day, KK. Choirs need tuning at times. Well, that's true. Mike says, hi, Sean and guys. Hello, Mike. DJ from 88. The amount of people who experienced the rave scene and who were against the system are now obedient, cowardly slaves. Of course they are. Because they were just in it for a crack. They weren't actually gaining anything from the experiences that we're having. And in my opinion, the people that were taking the LSD in the beginning, they're fucked. I never liked LSD. There was just something not right about LSD. It didn't go far enough, and I think what it did, it just took you to the lower astrals. Whereas if you want to do the proper dream cresting, you want a proper dose of the mushroom. And then you're dream questing properly. You're not fannying around. But the way I saw it in them days is the LSD just connects you to the lower astral. And so if you like that, then you were getting fixed to these darker entities. And I think most people couldn't get rid of them. And I think that's what happened. And that's the younger ones than my age that were. See, I enjoyed the ecstasy. That were brilliant. It used to make me psychic as fuck. And everybody that were on ecstasy knew fully that's where you can see that we are all one at the heart. At the heart level, we are all one. We're not all one when that's gone because everybody's a fruit bat and everybody's different. But when you took that ecstasy and we were doing that clubbing for that period in the 80s, there are no boundaries. You know at your heart level, every single one of us down here are one and the same. And then the come down is when all your nonsense is coming back and you're back to you again. And I mean, you know, I don't think everybody recognised that in the day. You did while you were on it, but whether it went in as that what were happening, depending on how smart you were, I think. But yeah, I don't like, and I never liked the LSD. Breed, you good scraps. Good scrapes. I think you missed an E off. Yeah, well, honestly, you know, I'm not joking. I used to come away from every job with about 20 fucking new brushes because they love me. Here, have that, you must. Because they never used to have to get the scraper out, never mind her. Because when I skimmed the wall, I had a special tool. I still have it. So I go down all my corners, all my edges. You didn't even have to get your scraper out. And there weren't a blemish on it. And it was flat as a pancake. And they love me. Space up and more. I'll send you another email, Sean. No worries, mate. Are you sending it to Yahoo? I love dog says, hey, Sean, therefore you should do, you do stand up. Well, I mean, to be honest, for me, I see my main work as done. I mean, I had at it from 93, but then doing this kind of stuff, but not on the internet at first, from 2001. I didn't get on the internet till 2007, but that was my main time, from 2001, probably to 2014. That's when I really, it was 24/7, 365 a year. I got up, I was on it. I went to bed, I got up, I was on it. And that was me for all them years. But from 2014 on, it's just been a gradual, put the website together. Then I got my YouTube back. And it's just, you know, after the book script, now I can see the degree to how thick people are out there in the big wide world. I have lost that urge to do what I used to do because I can see that it's a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of time because the researchers used to follow my stuff, which meant it were being spread everywhere through them. And that I liked. But today, it's I think it's so fantasy. It's so fantasy now that anybody that's coming into this game now, young uns, they think they're on the ball if they're listening to Joe Rogan or Alex Jones or that fucking fruitcake that's, what's he called, that Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson and all these fruitcakes. They think they're getting the real deal with them people. No, you're not. You're getting La La Land. That's what you're getting with them people, just La La Land. And that's where they seem to go. They're not interested in stuff like this. Because you look into stuff like this and it means you've got to do something. Whereas if you're just playing on the fantasy, you can just enjoy yourself, roll with it and think that it's all getting done because they're doing it for us and we just have to, I'll share that. I'll share this and I'll share that. And that's it. That's all that happens. But there is a real move starting. And we're going to get into that. DMT, mate. DMT, I've had DMT. It was a bit weird, that. A bit weird, is best I can say. I blocked it, by the way, from actually doing its thing. No, if I want a Dream Quest, it's just a mushroom. But it's the way you take it that's important, you see. You don't just get the thing and eat it. It's not the way you do it. It's not the way you do it at all. There's a special way to do it. Mewpit says he love. Yeah, obviously it opened your heart. That's what ecstasy in the day did. It opened your heart chakra. And that's where the oneness comes. We're not all one in our own characters and nonsense. But at its core, at that heart level, that's where we are one. And like I said before, the 666 system is being blocked and kept between the three chakras. So you don't recognise that oneness. That way they can play the division off everywhere. That's what the game is. But when you do move into that heart centre, then you know. And if you did the 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And even the late 80s, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? If you didn't do it, you won't know what I'm talking about. And that's basically it. But there's nothing I can do about that. You've either experienced it or you haven't. And it is one of them. You can't explain it beyond what I've said. You have to experience it. Not that I'm promoting it and saying everybody get out there, but I'm just saying it happened. I were in it, full swing, and that's how I understood it, and that's what I took away from it. I sent you an email on your website. You also put it in the chat last week. Send it to your email on my website. So that'll be Yahoo, I think. I think so. I don't know. I haven't even checked. I don't really do much on the website, to be honest. Like I said, I've just lost the verve for that. It's like before I used to put 3, 4 and 5 reports upon my websites a day. And then I used to collect all the global news and I had that in a feed on the website so that everybody could go to it and I'd picked up global news from everywhere. I used to daily check the chemtrail systems and this. Yeah, I really put a lot of effort into it back in the day. But I think I've come to learn that sometimes less is more. And I think that's quite an important lesson that I've learned as well. Or maybe I'm just a lazy git. I don't know. Alright, so he probably went to Yahoo then, but I'm not. Alright, Daniel says facts. That's the only thing on the show. It's all we want is facts. The recusant vagabond. Good evening all. Good evening to you. Mark Orford. Can't see Sean on the Auburnisha comedy show. He's a tosser, him. You don't want to be messing around me. He does my boxing because I get some of his stuff through and the way he presents himself. Are you telling me he had his kid removed? I don't believe it for a minute. But you all put money in. Oh, give him some of it. It's like Tommy Robinson. Oh, I need a kid, Casey. Fucking hell. I mean, that Jordan Peterson's interviewed little Tommy boy, hasn't he? Don't get me wrong. What Tommy's telling you about what's in the Quran is not incorrect. It is in there. Make no mistake about it. But Tommy has an agenda. He works for a side. Israel. He works for a side. That means he's part of the agenda that I'm going to dissect for you shortly. Liam says, 2020 was the year many people, including me, lost all faith in the herd. Exactly. I always believed the English wouldn't have it. What a mistake that were. Recusal Vagabond says, "Hey mate, you still going to carry on camping?" And he's talking to Mute. Slipknot says, "DMT will screw the shit out of you." It's a very strange fucking vibration. It's like potent. Very potent. But to be fair, I don't believe a lot of what they're saying about it. But until I've tried it properly, I can't really comment. But, you know, I've studied a lot of shamanic stuff. I was on that path for a long, long time back in the day. And when you take the mushroom, you then know that that's what they're talking about. Because what you experience on the shroom, if you do it properly, is everything you've ever studied about real shamanism. There it is. Now, I'm not saying it's not in DMT, but the way that it's presented, I don't buy it. I don't buy it because A, it doesn't sound like the shamanic experience, if you know what I'm saying, and B, if it was as good as they say, more people would be doing it. But, as I said, there's one thing I can't really speak on because I've only tried it once and I did block it. Space Officer says, I was during the early 90s rave scene. I got into it after 93. 93, I think I got into it. I were in bands up until then. Or I had a band at that time that were doing really well. The Recusal Vagabond says, we'll be there on the Wednesday, mate. It's another Wise Asylum, lol. What's it? We'll be there on the Wednesday, mate. What? I've lost. Unless you're talking to somebody else, I don't know. We'll be there on the Wednesday. Wednesday. All right. Odin's Day. Okay. Right. To business. What is happening is this. All nations have their laws, don't they? They've had them for centuries, thousands of years even, some of them. And, you know, Europe's always had more Roman code kind of law than and England was different. England was a different kettle of fish altogether. Because English law began before Rome basically started to become an imperial force. And that law system was set up here, we could say, by the Israelites. But the Tuatha De Danann as the magical, druidical, magical people, and then the Trojans, who were again, were sort of, I'd say the Israelite early Greeks, the originals, and that once you got fought like Agamemnon, who were jealous of what Troy had, they'd always been looking to destroy it. And Wilson and Blackett is the source, if you wish to pursue that idea of the Trojan side of things, which, you know, it makes so much sense in the sense that the Saxon idea doesn't pan out. It never panned out for Time Team, who have been seeking it forever. They've never really found any Saxon settlements. They're always Viking, or Briton, or Trojan, as it were, because they were definitely down in the south, especially in Cornwall. And 1066, there were 256 ships left these shores and went over to Greece. And a lot of them became the Varangian Guard as well, along with the Vikings, the Norse. So the English law, as we call it, was here a long, long time ago. And then it started to be incursioned by Rome. And of course, Rome finalised it when they annihilated the Druids. Then we class it as a dark age. There's a lot of evidence suggesting the 700s there was a major comet that came over here and set afire the entire forested British Isles, and it was uninhabitable for about 3 years. There's sources from France and other parts of Europe to say exactly that, and that comet actually landed in South America. And actually there's a massive archaeological team on there now looking at that potential landing site for the very comet that was said to have set fire to the British Isles in the 700s. So that's been classed as the Dark Ages. Then we get into the Viking side of things. We've got the Lindisfarne priesthood going on there. But of course, at this point, we're not dealing with the Vatican. The church, as it were, was the monasteries, and the biggest monastery in Europe was at Chalon in Burgundy. That's what basically the centre of the church, the Arian church in Western Europe, in fact, the entire Europe, apart from the eastern side, which was tied into the Byzantine system. So they do with two sections. But the Vatican wasn't really in play at that time. It was the monasteries, and that's where the power were. And originally, they held the land in trust for the common people so that the greedy landowners couldn't keep nicking it. And that's originally how it was set off, which is why the landowners, through various kings, really from 1066, were always attacking the monasteries. Henry VIII only finished that off, really. He didn't start it at all. He just ended it and stole all the wealth. And each time they destroyed these monasteries, they were actually taking the wealth, which in most cases was land. And this is how the aristocracies of today have managed to pretty much gain control over all the land here. So the English law is slightly different, and it's always been different to Rome. Always. Yet, of course, 1066 arrived, and then there were a battle between what were English law and them installing the Roman law. But, and this is the important side of things, and that is, even the Roman law is good. It's not that bad stuff. It's not as bad as people think. The system of law that's despicable and despised by all, unless you're above it and you're utilising it, is the Talmudic law. Because that gives those that control it absolute power over life and death. That's what the Talmudic system is. Okay, it's formed in Babylon, and these captives that were released through under King Cyrus to build the Second Temple claim to be Jews today, but of course there were no such term as Jews in the days of this captivity, but more importantly, even in the times of the Gospels. So the term itself didn't exist, so it's a misnomer. It meant something else. But these are the power people that wanted complete control over everything, and the Talmudic law was their creed. And originally it was classed as the oral law, and it incremented itself over the Old Testament tribes, you might say, as the oral law. And it wasn't formed into a written form until in the 400s AD. And it was called before that the laws of man. This is exactly what Jesus preached against, the laws of man. That's what he weren't called the Talmud then, but when he was preaching against the laws of man in the Second Temple, he was speaking about the temple that were enshrining and enforcing the laws of man. Today we call it the Talmud, and it gives them absolute power and control over life and death. Now, if your nation has the death penalty, then that is the Talmudic law operational in your nation. So in America, the Talmudic law has been operational all the time. They've always had the death penalty. England had the death penalty. There you can see the Talmudic law in operation. Now, interestingly, when the Crusades kicked off, what we actually had then was the influx of the Byzantine system, which was very Talmudic because the Comnene were in control. The Comnene set off the First Crusade because they were going to benefit from it. And the middlemen, the arbitrators under the Zoroastrian system, the black nobility, they arbitrated, and they were the middlemen between this move from the east into the Western Rome. And we can see that as the installation of the Talmudic system from the east into the west. Now, it didn't really start to show itself until the Dominicans got excited about Inquisition. Now, bearing in mind, the Inquisition was required in a sense because this influx of these Talmudists sacrificing kids, killing kids, kidnapping kids, and putting people into debt. So the church itself had a bit of a dilemma, and it needed to create some kind of system whereby it could deal with these freaks. But what they don't realise is this system of Talmud, it operates its own monster. And unfortunately, the Roman system decided to utilise this Talmudic system, and the Dominicans took control of it. not realising that as soon as you take that system on, even though you're taking it on to oppose the boys that actually operate through it, it's starting to take you over. So the Inquisition in its entirety was operated under Talmudic law. So it's been in the Vatican system for a long time. And it's been across Western Europe and all the Western nations that have been born from England for a long time, since the 1066 invasion. And that were a big battle that were going on in that times, through those centuries up to the 1600s, of installing it. And, of course, English law has always kept it at bay because of the rights, or the freedoms, rather, that we are afforded through the common law. However, Civil War time changed everything. Okay? Changed everything. And it's been incrementally removing the Christendom laws by abolishing the office of monarch in 1649 and the Privy Council and the House of Lords, that this Talmudic system has been ever present and ever more being enshrined in the English system. Now, of course, since the 60s, we've had rid of the death penalty, so it hasn't shone as brightly, you might say, in the public arena as it has in, say, America, where they have the death penalty. But it is the Talmudic law that they're operating when they're claiming that they can kill you. That's what the Talmud is, absolute control over life and death. Now, the problem we have is this, that Islam, in its doctrine, is full of the Talmud. So this is why they kill, this is why they murder, this is why they rape, this is why they enslave. That's the Talmud speaking. And it's been deliberate. So when the Carthaginians set up Islam, almost 300 years after Muhammad, and then formed this Quran, it was full of the Talmud. Why? Because the bloodlines that set it up were Carthaginian or Talmudists. And they used it then as a sword, and they've used it ever since as a sword. You only have to look at the map of the expansion of Islam to see that all it's ever done is do war. But it's always doing war for somebody else. Now, the ultimate purveyors of the Talmud are the hidden bloodlines, the hidden power, but they herald from Babylon. But we can see them in the Holy See families, the banking families, the Venetians, the black nobility. So that's almost the entire aristocracy we have on the British Isles that have transplanted themselves onto America, to Canada, to Australia. And slowly but surely, they've removed the English common law from these nations and further installed the corporate law. Now, the corporate law operates 100% for profit. That means it has to operate under Talmudic law, because slavery is a big part of that profit. Now, this is what's happening across the world today. Ultimately, the aim is to install the no-hide system, which is a trust. Its laws are Talmudic laws. All of it. In its entirety, it is the Talmud. Right. Now, there's a stepping stone they have to achieve before they can get the people of the world to call on this so-called saviours that they're trying to put themselves up to be and say, come in and take us over. This is where the Antichrist system's coming in. But it's a bit before that time. They have to do a stepping stone move before people, in their opinion, will accept them as the ultimate gods operating Talmud. And that is Islam. So they're installing Islam everywhere they can because it operates the Talmud. And the game is to get the Christians and the Muslims to do battle. Now, why? We touched on last week, okay? All the debt in the world that's been created, right, in the Western economy. So that's national debt, it's local debt, and it's individual debt. Is a debt accrued through the surname. And the debt is owed to the Christian name. Which is why they insist the Christians do war. It's how they get rid of the creditor before they wake up. Because our Christian name, which we've forsaken, because we've took on the surname, is what's owed the debt. So if we awaken to that fact and reclaim and make ourselves whole on the Christian side, we can call in the debt. They can't have that because in the lengths they've gone to now, they're now going to pull our estates in because of that debt on the surname into this no-hide trust. Because everything has to be consensual. Even if it's by ignorance, it doesn't matter. Implied acquiescence is the term in the contract law. Okay? And ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Now, no knowledge of is acceptable. But how many people understand that difference between ignorance of the law and no knowledge of? Not that many. Now, so in this killing the creditor or killing the Christian name, because that is the enemy of the Talmud, they have to set their broom in here to make a mess so that we focus our hate on them. What we're actually hating and despising is their actions under the Talmud. What we despise about Islam is every time it acts in accordance with the Talmud. Because to the Christian ideal, it's repulsive. It's the opposite of. Enslaving, beheading, torturing women, raping women, all this shit that goes on. That's the Talmud side of Islam. And we're being encouraged to despise that side, not realising that what we're actually despising is the Talmud itself. And if they can get us to go to war, then we're going to be calling in the real purveyors of the Talmud, those that control Israel. But those that control Israel also control the forces that are pushing this Talmudic system, as an expression, across Islam. As agitators. Praying on the road, that's agitation. Shouting Allah Akbar all over our nation, that's agitation. It's working. But this is a select fanatical group at the top that is hoping to envelop the entire Muslim people. Because, of course, the Muslims don't read the Quran. They haven't read the Hadith. They haven't read the Surah. So they haven't got a clue what's going on. They just go to mosque and they're told what's what. So this is the game that they're playing. They want us to get cross at these Muslims, thinking it's Muslims that we're cross at, when really what we're cross at is the Talmud. And they want to come in then as the Talmud, and we won't see it. We'll just accept it. So this is where you've got this division now across the world. Your politics are all about Palestine, Islam, Israel, Jews. Okay, can you see that now? So now the battle lines are all about, we hate that one and we're calling in this one. Now, interestingly, Christendom has been divided in such a way that one big branch of Christendom, the Protestants, are completely in tune with Israel. The real Talmudists, the real enemies of your Christian name, the Creditor. So if you're a Christian and Protestant, you're completely thick. Because you have sucked into the very forces that despise the fact that you're holding the credit for all their debt. And before you find out, you have to let them install the Talmud so they can kill you. They can kill you by consent because you've accepted this law system. So this Islamic thing is just a sideline. It's a stepping stone to get and achieve that. Now, let's have another look at what's really going on and why there's a shining light appeared in this last month. Now, your prejudices, your ignorance and everything are going to determine whether you understand what I'm about to say to you now. But I'm going to tell you now, whatever you think of it, this is the reality. Okay? Now, the Vatican is an organisation. Okay? It's an organisation. It's like a massive network, global network. And it's an instrument of the Holy See. Okay? The Holy See being made up of families that are the black nobility, that are playing the role of the arbitrator in the Zoroastrian system. Okay? They control Islam. They control the Jews. Okay? So you've got Palestinian to the left, and you've got King Cyrus, Trump, direct Talmud. So indirect Talmud, Palestinian and Islam, direct Talmud, Trump and the Jews. There's the game that I've just explained playing out on America right now. They've annihilated the right wing everywhere and they're pushing in this Bolshevik system. My guess is Trump's not going to get in, and whoever it is they're putting up, I think Hillary's being put up, whether people will go with that I don't know. But wherever you're getting in the left, you can guarantee it's Barack Obama in the background running it. Okay? So there's the dichotomy in relation to the Christian not seeing that both of these camps are ultimately our enemy, yet the Muslims are a lesser enemy because they're just ignorantly doing what they're doing, because they haven't recognised that actually by enforcing the Talmud keeps them completely under the control of the people they think are their enemies, the Jews. Now, back to the Vatican. The Vatican is like I said, it's an institution, an organisation, you might say. It can be good, it can be bad. And if you look in history, you can see times it's had good people in it and times it's had bad people in it. We're now living at a time where the Vatican has been completely enveloped by the bad, or the Talmud, we might say, since 1929. It's been before that, but since 1929, the fascists recreated the Vatican to its own system. They pulled in the reins of what was the church, the land, and pulled it into this Vatican state. Now, it calls itself the church. Now, let's have another look at that word. That word church means the gathering. Okay? Now, during the 70s and the 80s, the Catholics left the Vatican. So they left the institution, but there's still a gathering of people lost because all the churches they wanted to go to were being run by Vatican II, the Talmudic system, which is why they went from love to authority. So they're the debtors. They are the debtors now that need to destroy the creditor. So the Vatican today is an institution, and it might call itself a church. It's just a gathering, but it's the gathering of the debtors that need to kill the creditor. Now, the light that's shining today. Now, if you're fixed on religious dogmas and you're on religious prejudices, you're just not going to get your head around this. But let me tell you straight now, because you're stupid. Okay? You're stupid. Because there's a shining light appeared, and it's called Archbishop Vigano. Archbishop Vigano is the Pope. Why? Because he's in sync with the creditor. The Christian name, your name, regardless of your denomination. This man stood up and said, fuck you, Vatican, you're off your tits. So he said that institution is fucked. Malachi Martin set the way going by showing us that it was no longer serving the Christian doctrine because it had become an institution for the debtor. Now that debtor institution has to do everything it can to destroy the creditor. Archbishop Vigano stood up forth and said, that's wrong. This, before pre-Vatican II, is the way Catholicism operates. So he stood up and said, I'm with Christ. We're now shining a light back to the creditor side, the Christian name. So in truth, Archbishop Vigano is the Pope. And the churches that are building again around are old school, Vatican, Mass, etc. It's Christian. It's your Christian name. It's going to support your Christian rights as creditor. And it's the only chance we have to prevent the debtor side killing the creditor side, which is every single Christian denomination on the earth. And because you don't see it, because they're using a front, Islam. They're using it across Africa to kill Christians. Rwanda was the same. So that's what we're meant to see. They want us to see that front. But it's coming from a higher perspective. The Talmudists, the debtor side. We are the creditor side. Now, in America, the Catholics are rallying to this Vigano because he is the Pope. If you're in sync with the gospel, if you're in sync with the creditor side, the Christian name, you can call yourself the Pope. Not because you don't need the Vatican to tell you. It's an institution that's screwed. And Malachi Martin made that clear in the 90s. So now all of a sudden, the right side of things has moved itself back together. And it doesn't matter whether you see that or not. You're not going to get out of this mess by playing with yourself, watching Corrie, and wishing things would change. It's not going to happen. And I don't care what denomination you are. It's not going to work. There is a move now. And if you're not a Catholic, you're not going to like it. Because you're stupid. Because you're not realising and reckoning with the fact that it's your Christian name that's the creditor. And because you've signed off on the surname with everything you've done, you've joined it with the surname. Now, Pope Francis has made the claim that the surname belongs to the church. His church, the gathering of what they are. Not the Catholic Church. Because it's not the Catholic Church. That left in the 90s, as Malachi Martin told you. So when he says about the surname belongs to the church, it belongs to the debtor side. And he's made that claim that what he represents is the debtor side of the church, his gathering. It has nothing to do with Catholicism. It has nothing to do with Christianity whatsoever. Now, this is the kicker. And if you're a Protestant, you're not going to like this. But this is the facts of the matter. Every single Protestant alive today is the body of this debt church. You are now the Vatican. You are the Vatican because of the fact that you've pulled yourself in under the Talmudists that call themselves Jews. How fucking ironic is that? You that reformed and broke from the Vatican are the Vatican today. The Catholics that left the Vatican are still the Catholics. How fucked up is that? All you American denominations, evangelicals, you are the Vatican. You are Pope Francis's church. You are the purveyors of the debtor side of the system. Do you understand what I've said to you there? Because I'll tell you now, you can win piss all day, forever, the rest of your life. That is the reality of what is happening right now, today, under your nose. And you missed it. You missed it because you weren't smart enough. You missed it because you're nowhere near in touch with anything that's called Christianity. And you missed it because you've foregone the creditor side and took on the debtor side. Why? Who knows? But Freemasonry played one of the biggest fucking roles in that ever. And I've said before, the Jesuits claimed back in the day that they'd installed futurism within Freemasonry, and they knew full well that the reformed breakaway would come flourishing back to the Vatican. Do you see that? The Protestants are now the Vatican. You are the debtor side of everything. And you are now trying to destroy the creditor, the Christian. You are the military people. You are the judiciary. You are the police. You are all this shit. The shit that's fucking everything up. You are it. How fucking obscene is that? But that's the way we're at, ladies and gentlemen. And you can run around crying about it all day. But if you give that proper thought, if you reckon with what I've said to you today, you can only conclude that what I've said to you today is absolutely 100% the reality of what's going on and playing out all around us today. There endeth the Sunday sermon. Right. I'm just watching myself finish it there. So there you go, chaps. That's it. That is it in a nutshell. I want questions. Questions now. Questions. Where are we? Alexander Milicevic. Hello there, Alexander. Hi to all. In the 96th, money flowed into the rave scene, and everything became a business. Mixing from a CD player is the beginning of the end of the independent scene. Absolutely. Mark says, good evening. Evening, Mark. Alexander says, skill became unnecessary and everyone became spoiled materialists. I've been spinning since the age of 15, exclusively vinyl. It's all sad to watch now. Now, I concur with that because what were the whole theme of the DJ scene back in the day was the quality of the mix. And that's got lost with all this CD malarkey. I agree, because that was the talent. The talent of the DJ was the way he mixed tunes together. And that's what you were listening to when you were in a club. You were listening and enjoying the tune, but you were waiting for that mix. And you're absolutely right. That was the talent of the DJs in the 90s on the vinyl. The mix itself. Because that's where the creativity came in. And these guys were super at it. Super at it. And there became the battle about musicians saying, well, they're not musicians. No. They might not have actually been musicians, but they were playing the instrument of two decks and creating something wonderful in a mix. So I understand exactly what you were saying there. Mew says, carry on camping festival, Sean, with the circus that is the truth movement, the usual YouTube channels and flat earth, remedies, assorted distractions, etc. Absolutely. It's all bollocks. It's all bullshit. And that's where everybody throws the money. Into nothing. You're throwing your money into nothing. You know, the biggest thing that's kept me down in relation to actually getting stuck in and making things happen is I've never had the cash. I've never had the ability and the equipment and the things I need to move forward. Because everybody's throwing the money at the fruitcakes because they're wallowing in the fantasy. Because it means they don't have to do fuck all. But they believe they're doing something good. And that is the dichotomy, and it's always been so in this game called the Truth Movement. The alternative media. I mean, listen to Alex Jones going on and on about this Trump thing. It was the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. It was a complete psyop. The whole thing. And he's trying to get everybody excited that you must hunker down now and start shooting people. Honestly. White Horse says Clown Festival. Absolutely it is. White Horse. Wife has a stall selling her creations from textiles. Exactly. We need to get back to thinking for ourselves. I mean, everybody made their own clothes back in the day. Didn't they? And sold them. Or made something. We don't create anything anymore, which is why China makes it and imports it. Gaius says, hello Sean, hello Gaius, how you doing my good man? Jerry says, debtor of man converted you to debtor, exactly through the surname. It's the taking on of the surname that presents you as the debtor side, when in fact you're the creditor on the Christian name. In my name you will be saved. Yeah? Walking on water, walking on the sea of commerce. And what I've just relayed to you guys tonight is the reality of what's happening. That's what they're doing. Everywhere. And if people can start to see through that, you're not going to feed it. You're not going to feed it. And the reason why I went so far with the Leeds incident is because what I want to focus to is this. In this nation, we pay for a police constabulary to deal with that shit. The way they're playing it now is they want us to deal with it because they want civil unrest. We're paying them to deal with that. I don't care what these immigrants want to do. We're paying the police to sort them out, and we expect them to fucking sort it out with batons, whatever it takes, not to run away like a bunch of fucking furry cakes. Not to then make an announcement that nobody should talk about it because it's going to excite the right wing. That's exactly what they want. And Tommy Robinson is that method. He operates for the Talmudists, and he wants you to hate Islam. We already despise big parts of Islam because it's pushing the Talmud. we have a right to despise it because it goes against our Christian ethos in every single sense of the word. But these guys are trying to inflame it so that we'll take on the ultimate Talmudists who control our militaries, our police, our judiciary, our aristocracy. Do you get what I'm saying now? And that's why I spoke as I did about the Leeds riots. Because the players are shoving it so that we don't see the ultimate twist, that ultimately it's these bunch of shitheads that want to come in and enforce across the board the Talmudic law because it gives them absolute power over life and death. But every nation's got it in it. The Inquisition will run on it. So let's not pretend it's just something brand new. It's always been in the mix. And in general terms, it gets brought into the mix by some power freak, king or whatever, who wants to deal with certain situations, usually set up by the very people that run the Talmud. They'll set up the cause or the problem, as Ike would say. There's a reaction, and in that time, over time, the reaction has been, well, we'll just have a look at this Talmud because it looks like we can sort it out on that. Not realising that the Talmud in and of itself is its own monster. It's its own gig. It's Lucifer's fucking charter. And every time they've let it in order to deal with a problem, it grows, and it grows, and it grows. To the point where when you've got power, you realise it's power to give you more power. Because when you're into power, you don't want an opposing force. Because an opposing force is the very thing that stops you getting more power. The Talmud gives you reason and sanctity to kill your enemy, your opposition. That's why it grows and it grows and it grows. And the end game is to install the Talmud across the entire globe. The entire globe. You know, the Koreans, South Koreans, all have copies of the Talmud. Did you know that? You see, they've been very busy in the East. Very, very busy for a very long time. Since they took over China. Through the Bolsheviks. Well, first softening it up through the East India companies. Remember, the Jesuits have always called themselves the company. East India companies. They wouldn't belong to the Brits. It never did. Always belonged to the Holy See families or the Holy Roman Empire. The black nobility as the arbitrators for whomever it is that are the hidden royalty in all this shit. But their game is the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud. And it's been reconvened into the Jerusalem Talmud also. So that's the game that's playing out. We are the creditors to all this debt that the debt side has created. And they have to kill us before we claim back the position of creditor. That's why you go to war. That's why they've given you the NHS. You know, you join the army, it's so they can kill you. Kill the creditor. But you consented, you did it yourself. There's no kickback. No spiritual kickback. That's the trick. Now, if you really want to get into depth for this, let's look at it another way. All these evangelical Christians run around going, Lucifer's the enemy of God, and oh my God, is that it? No, he's not. Lucifer, or Satan, whichever way you wish to call it, acts for the ultimate created force. Because up there in the big term of things, he's acting for it. It's not the enemy at that position. Remember, he was cast down here. Genesis 1 is clear. They created the heavens, the earth, the plants, the animals, and man. And they created man in their image. What is their image? The only insight you get is that they created the heavens, the earth, the plants, the animals, and man. A great creation. There's the one side. You're in the image of us, but if you're going to play in the image of us, that's how you've got to be. Create things of beauty. However, we're going to give you free will, which is why there's no rules that come from Genesis 1. So they created an antagonist side, here, down here, for man to deal with. You've got Genesis 1, this is the image that you've been given, but here's another system that we're going to put down there for you to decide whether you want to take that on or whether you want to work in the image of Genesis 1. So the enemy, as you would call it to God, is only here for you to determine. It's not the ultimate enemy of the big cheese up there, out there, that created this game. That's the casting down. You're the enemy of the creative force if you're pulling in to this dark force. By default. Don't you get that? You know, the division is down here. You've got Genesis 1, the creative force that you're in the image of, but you can choose this easy way out. This that satisfies desire, power, lust, and all that goes with it. But each time you go that way, you're moving away from that side. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Where are we there? Orthodox, wait a minute. White Horse says good luck. Oh, thanks for that, White Horse. Alexander says Orthodox priests will not give a baptismal certificate. They claim they lost her. I tried, so I'm passing it on so you know. See, the Orthodox priests are 100% Bolshevist. And Vatican II placed the entire Western Vatican system under the Orthodox system. It's all a play. Look, it's all a big play. Russia represents the ultimate Talmudists, which is why it's presenting itself as the uber-Christian. Because it's all about the creditor seeing in the Muslim what we despise about the Talmudists without seeing the fact that it's them here that run it and these are just a stepping stone. So we already know we despise what they are, but we're being focused to seeing it in the front. And until the Muslims wake up to that, they're just going to be the Muppets and the puppets for this one over here. It's as simple as that. The more you hate, the more you're in tune with this antagonist side. The more you fear, the more you're going to run to this antagonist side because it's offering you protection away from Genesis 1. I've all my live streams made a bit of sense now. Where are we there? You can retire now. Who can? Moo says, Liverpool TPR put up a good video last week. They did indeed. Well done, them lads. Very well done indeed. Because that takes balls, that. And that's what we used to do at Freeman game, and we'd just bollock them all. And it was very well done, very well presented. I don't know what's going to come of it because, of course, they're all corporate. But that were very well done indeed. So now you need to cement that in paperwork, chaps. So maybe we'll have to have a chat at some point. Jerry says, nice one, Mew. Jerry says, bang, 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 Sean. Nice one, matey, you're getting it. Lewis says, are you talking about unum sanctum? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because Jesus gave you his name, but everybody thinks you have to run around going, oh, Jesus, this. No, it's not his fucking name. It's your name. The Christian name. Not the surname. The surname is that which creepeth from below. And Francis has made it clear. The surname belongs to his church. His gathering. But most people think it means the Catholic Church. It doesn't. The Catholic Church is re-rising under Archbishop Vigano. That's the real Catholic Church. That's the church that will hold and enforce your creditor Christian side, the gospel according to Christ. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a Christian, or if you were born a Christian, you are a creditor. This entire global debt system owes it you. But you're not going to get it back joining the debtor side. The light is shining. Archbishop Vigano is the Pope. Make no mistake about it. He is the Pope. He is the church. Is he your gathering? And, you know, it's not about... This is not about religion. It really isn't about religion. It's about creditor, debtor. That's what it's about. And if you can't see that, fuck me. You're in a mess. It is not about religion. It's not about history anymore. It's about this. The debtor side is trying to destroy the creditor side. He's using Islam to do it at this stage. The creditor side has started to rise again. And Archbishop Vigano is the Pope. End of story. Forget the dogmas and all the nonsense. That's the gathering. That's the church. That's the holder of the creditor side, whether you like it or not. And I'm not going to badger you too much about it. That's reality, folks. That's reality, whether you like it or not. Where are we, Lewis? Are you talking about Unum? Yes, Ulick says, Amen. Jerry says, be like a new Unum Sanctum, but with no return, Lewis. Good man, Ulick, says Jerry. The DJ created the wave you rode on, absolutely. But remember, it was the mix that we all waited for, weren't it? We loved the tunes, because we loved the tunes, but we were always waiting for that mix to see what creativity he put in. And that's where the DJs shined back in the day. You're right, CD mixing, it's just a piece of piss, it's garbage, it's bollocks. And the same when they brought out that door system, that, what was it called? I can't remember. Sasha used it. And I have wrote a couple of tunes in it in the past, but I didn't like it. I forgot what it's called. But yeah, it all started to change, and Sasha were a big mover of that. As much as he's a good DJ, or especially when he worked with Digweed. But no, you can see the arseholes that were moving it. You know what I mean? Where are we? Thank you, Sean. It was all about the quality of analogue mixing. Absolutely, it were. And you get a much better feel of the night from vinyl, because it's much more low resonance coming through them speakers. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like digital, but it's too crisp. And you don't notice it until you get into a filled club and you've got vinyl going, then lower frequencies that you miss on the digital. Even though it pops, you know, with digital, it's just something missing. DG from 88, spot on. It's all about an idol nowadays. When I started in 88, nobody knew. Well, if you look at what's happening today, they're all with their phones. The only guy dancing is the DJ. He's like a performing monkey. Have you seen it? That's not what it was about. Nobody gave a shit about looking at DJ back in the day. You were too busy in your thing. You were having your quest and waiting for that mix. Because that's the way it went, isn't it? The guys that did the great mixing were the guys that everybody sent the tunes to. They became the top DJs. It was because of the mixability, yeah. Thick as Fuck Club, Sean, absolutely. The Recusant Vagabond, question mark. Okay. DJ from 88, hey Sean, do you read the light paper? No. John Smith, Rabbi Aaron Haviv. Who's that? What's he on about? Lewis says, how does this occulted knowledge trickle down from the groups who hold tight to their chests? Well, it's all about carrot. Oh, look at me, I've got some knowledge you might like. Come and follow me, come and follow me. But I'm going to control you. You're going to take an oath here. You can't do this, you can't do that. Stick and carrot. Because you can't be asked to do it yourself. Yep. Come and join us, we know this. We know all about this here. Come on, and we'll give it you. We'll share it with you. Mandel said, so few would find out, and for those that did, we have plausible deniability. Very true. Louis says, do they Do they do this to be in accordance to the natural law of karmic retribution? Yes, because it's consensual. Just like the book script was all consensual. If you were afraid, you didn't believe it was consensual. You believed the television. You believed Boris Johnson. You believed your employer. However, your employer was correct in the sense that first they got you to sack yourself off your contract and sign into a new one called the furlough, in which the new contract had certain terms that your original one didn't have. Contract law is quite clear. You can't breach contract. If you'd have all said, fuck off, we're happy with our contract, there was nothing they could do. They wouldn't have got the furlough. They wouldn't have got the forced consent, as it were. Yeah? You know, I was sick of listening to people going, oh, I had to do it for holiday. Oh, I had to do it for my job. You dumb motherfuckers, thought I. You are the dumbest fucks I've ever known. And further down the line, you're going to realise that you're dumb. I mean, I said to everybody back at the beginning, I said, listen, you're all saying you've got to do it. I said, but down the line, you'll all realise that you didn't have to do it because they'll make sure they tell you that they didn't force you. But that's the way it goes. Consent. You give your surname, it's consent. You're debtor. We've all fell for it. We've all fallen for it because we didn't understand the way the law society works. We didn't understand the way Admiralty law works, which is Babylonian law. We didn't understand it because they made sure we didn't understand it unless you joined the club, go through college, learn all the tricks, learn the program, and then you can move further and further up when you've signed off to the bar. And they'll give you more loopholes so you can be better at representing the court. Because that's what you're doing. You've got to remember, court cases, when they look at the thing, who's got the most money? Right, he has to lose. We make more off him. Yeah? Unless you're in the club. If you're an high-level Mason, you're going to win. It's a mafia. It's a big global mafia, is what it is. And their overall doctrine is the Talmud, because it gives them absolute power over life and death. And you've consented to it. So you might have to listen to this a couple of times to actually grasp exactly what I've said. But I'm sure I've preempted you enough over these live streams with law, with chemical stuff, with everything we've gone through. We've talked about all sorts of stuff to give you the sort of the grammar that you need to see what it is I'm saying. Where are we? Neil, you should have left your question up, mate. Has somebody put a question up and take it down? Neil, put your question up. Slipknot says, they'll all be under oath. Exactly. They're all fucked, and I think they're starting to realise how fucked they are. And the National Securities Act that we looked at earlier in the year from last year binds them to not say that they know there's no England anymore. They're all supporting the Scottish game up there, which is Roman. It's church, the Debtor church, because he said the surname belongs to them. It's not the church. Church means gathering. That's all it means. Archbishop Vigano is the church. He's the Pope, really. And he's the one that can form the system again to support the creditor side, your Christian name. And it doesn't matter what denomination you think you're at. You're being shafted and you're being blagged so that you don't realise that by joining that force up there, you've joined the debtor side that wants to kill your name because you're the creditor to it. All the debt in the world is owed to you. All of it. And they can't have you finding out. You need your estates to go into the no-hide system. Big Carrot, the furlough sun shining in and pissing, they went 10,000, some of the lads. I know I'm not watching them all giving it this. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Oh, it offered me 10 grand. And they're like, did you take 10 grand yet? Yeah, you fucking tossers. And these are people that wanted me to help them, with loan. I'm like, yeah, fuck off. Kiss my ass, I'm helping. You've took your 10 grand, you're in it. Fuck off. You know, it were like, you people are so, it were like, I was just, I mean, it did it for me. The whole COVID thing showed me how pathetic people were. Either they were weak or they were just money, greed. They couldn't see past it. I'm a businessman. No, you're not a businessman. You're a fucking half-wit kind of thing. The amount of people that did that, I thought, there we go. Not my people anymore. Not my people. Pointless trying to get people to think like lawyers, they'll say, but Master said I have to do it. Well, this is the problem, and this is the difficult part for me, is you will not start to have any sort of, what can I say? You won't make sense of this until you start to think like them. And when you start to think like them, you realise how evil and demented and left-brained they are. And unfortunately, I've got very good at it. And I don't like that fact. It's very uncomfortable to do this for me. Now, I was very left-brained when I was a kid. I was into electronics, warlord, everything you would put on the left side, I were. Until I started playing drums. And once you start messing around with the beat, the heartbeat, you're fucked. That's it, left brain's gone. It's gone. It can't stay. You're on the shamanic beat then. That's a different game. And so I went all right brain, but I've managed to pull it back to balance. So now I can I can enter their mind and grasp the mindset, the game, see the tricks and the traps. But what we're seeing now is they're just railroading everything. So you have to create the case management file. You've got to let them play their hand and go through the fucking jingle jangle. You just got to make sure you do everything correct so that you're creating the case management file, and then you're going to take it up there. Let them play the fucking game. Let them show you exactly what they're doing and who they are, and just to what degree this network pulls itself in. Honestly, it's fucking been 4 months of absolute wow. Wow, these people are wankers. Real. You know? It's not even funny. It's diabolical. It really is. How evil these people are. Louis says, what's the best mystery school to join to learn? The Wise Asylum. All-round education, thanks. Louis, the Wise Asylum. Says Mew knows the crack. Well done, Mew. Dana Cassetti. Hey, hello, Dana. Welcome to the Wise Asylum. You might have missed a lot if you've only just joined us. Jerry says, it's also showed those working against us how easy it could be done. Yeah, I mean, behaviour change. You've really got to get into this behaviour change that they've been implementing in the schools, through entertainment, through the television, and then what we actually saw through, the book script was how well they'd achieved it. Now, if you go back to 2009, they tried it then. It didn't work. It didn't work as soon as they told everybody the doctors and nurses had to take it first. They said, kiss my ass, and they collapsed it in the day because they knew if the doctors and nurses were saying no, there were no way would they get the people to do it. So in that 10 years, they retrained the doctors and nurses, got rid of the ones that weren't going to have it, and kept the fruitcakes. The ones that would go with it. The ones that are coming out now and crying and saying, you were all right, you lot. Bit fucking late now, son. If you'd have been thinking about that back at the beginning instead of fucking coin. But then forgiveness is the name of the game, isn't it? You have to forgive them if they've come through and they've accepted that they were wrong. Fair play. That's the way it goes. Forgiveness is what you need. Otherwise, these people just go further and further on the back foot. Which is why I say amnesty. For the majority of the MPs, judiciary and all this, it has to be so. There has to be some mechanism that we offer in order to cancel out their oath that they took to the dark side. Otherwise, the dark side can make a claim. So their redemption is that they see it, they accept it, they acknowledge it, they confess it. But we have to be prepared to give them the forgiveness, and that cancels out the power of the oath they took to the dark side. So it's a two-way show. That's how this spiritual game works. That them up there don't want you to know. Yeah, and Jay says agreed. Absolutely. Louis says, what are good resources to start learning law? Good books, websites. Well, you can go on my website, go on the top. Well, hang on, I'll show you. I'll show you. Now, this is a good start. Now, there's a book here that it's probably better I don't speak about it on YouTube because it's fucking dynamite. It's from 2012. And it's called The World Turned Upside Down. Yeah, it's Melanie Phillips. This girl goes through absolutely everything. Now, but this is a very important one, the myth of environmental Armageddon. She also goes through, so this is basically the contents. Cults and conspiracies from Diana to Obama. If you want to know what's going on, the power of Obama, you need to read this. She goes through everything, this girl. Iraq War. In 2012, this. You'll want to read it. I've got one of my old compadres going through her email lists, and she's sending me stuff that we may have forgotten about that we were dealing with back in the day. Now, I don't know whether I've actually read this or not, to be fair, but it's covering everything. Everything. Yeah? Destroying Western civilizations means destroying the Jews. Genocidal Jew hatred in the Islamic world. She goes through all sorts, this girl. Blaming the Jews for their own persecution, reason the incubator of prejudice, the British media as the global laundry for bigotry. And this is 2012, remember. It's just, she goes through the show, everything. I'll put this up as a link on this video for you to peruse if you so wish. Now, last week, I went through this contract rules of law, okay? Now, on the Monday morning, I got a message off YouTube. They've removed, I thought they'd removed the video, the Sunday live stream. But they'd actually removed this piece, the link, they said, were dodgy. Now, it wasn't dodgy up until Monday. After Monday and YouTube had done this, if you go to that link, it comes up as dangerous. So I've put it up on a PDF, and I've put it up on the site in its completeness. If you wanted to have it as a document, all right, rather than just screenshotting it off last week's live stream, all right. But there's the rules of contract operational in UK law today, and we went through it last week, didn't we? Now this is an interesting piece. Again, I'll put this up, but in sync with the Leeds riots about technology to control the brain using magnetic fields developed. Now, I've put it up on my face here, so some of you might have seen it, but this is very interesting. It shows the tech that they've got, they're using, and again, we've talked about these towers. There's obviously a reason why they're putting them up, of how they can actually create and change your emotion, your thought patterns. They can even make you sexually active, so they can create a space in your town. Whereas if you walk through, you're going to be sexually energised. So they're open rapes and all that kind of stuff goes on there. People that are that way out will congregate. They can also create riot because they can create points of anger. And I've noticed occasionally I'll be going on a certain route and all of a sudden I get angry thoughts. I've noticed this. I've noticed one point in Accrington where if I go through, I get angry thoughts against Islam, which I thought is very interesting. Now, these are things I've noted. I'm not sure whether this is tied to this technology or not, or what's going on. But I've started to notice that certain areas in certain places, all of a sudden, you're getting these thoughts there that are not there on your journey. And I think this is probably what we're seeing in relation to this tech. So this is an interesting document. Again, I'll put this up underneath rather than us having to go through it, because we've gone through quite a lot today. Now back to the one asking about law. So this is my website. Let me just see what you can see. Alright, so you can't really... Right, so this is the important part at the top. Okay, the header. You've got the bridge, home, about, news, in profile, history, English law. Now, I will click it. Hang on. So I'll just show you. If you want to start on the law, hit English law and you get the realm and anti-realm. There's the English realm. Okay. There's a lot of links on here. It's a great start to get your mind around what was good, which was what was England, because it gave you the right. So you've got right to the highway, which is the oldest law I could find. Magna Carta, Provisions of Oxford, Coronation Oath Act, English Bill of Rights, Act of Union, which we don't like. 1829, 9 Principles of Law Enforcement, Oath of an English Constable. And then you've got laureate title, true land and property ownership. And then you've got, I've put a chronology of certain events that are rather important. And that's classed as the realm. So if you go back up to history, to English law, you've got the anti-realm. And this pretty much starts to cover all the things that have started to ebb away at your freedoms. Yeah, I mean, there's just link upon link upon link. There's video, all sorts of stuff. Now, bear in mind, I haven't updated these pages for years and years. And a lot of what's up here is what we're up 15, 12 years ago. In truth, I should actually update these pages, but it just takes so much. This I would class and say it's a good start to get your mind around what kind of parameters you're going to have to absorb to start to grasp the entirety of this monster. But bearing in mind, I've been at it for what? God, what are we now? 2024. I think I started studying constitutional law in the 90s, so a long time, guys, and it's just so much to take on, so much. But as I said, the main problem is it doesn't start to make sense until you start to think like them. That's the problem with this game, and it's fucking horrendous because they're so left brain, so robotic. I mean, Doctor Who had it right with the Daleks, for sure, back in the day. That's what they were teaching us. But these people are just so left-brained. It's quite ridiculous. And that is exactly what it is. But until you start to think like them. But if you're already left-brained, you're not going to do too bad. Like I have friends who was, they'll read an act and bang, they see it right away. Whereas I've got to look at it and go, what? And I may have to do a bit of etymology. I'll have to look around at various things to actually grasp what they're saying. Because everything they say is double-edged, it's got other meanings, it's ambiguous. And of course, they're leaving loopholes everywhere for themselves, for each level of, as you move up from solicitor to barrister. Each level has a different set of loopholes that the one below doesn't understand, so that they can get you out or defeat somebody. If you've got a solicitor at this level acting for somebody, they'll just put a barrister in who's next level up, who has a bigger loophole, bang, you've had it. And that's how it works. And unfortunately, in order to understand it, you've got to start at the bottom, but you've got to get so that you're understanding it at the top. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it yourself. But it's a chess game, or a tennis game. In truth, the tennis itself is a symbolic of a court. But of course, the first thing you see is it's not a level playing field when you go in a court, is it? Which the tennis court is. So originally, a court was just basically there as a level playing field, and the judge was just an arbiter it was the jury that were going to determine who were right and who were wrong, and the judge would just then decide what happens once the decision's been made. Whereas now, you're charged without a trial. You're charged. Your charge shouldn't come until after a jury trial. Or a trial by jury, rather. That's the one you want. Jury trials where the judge can tell the jury what to think, what to say, and what not to do. You don't want that. You want a jury of 12 people of your peers. But that's the level playing field. Now you go into court and you've got all these different bloody boxes, and the judges or whatever they call it are above you because you're on a ship. You're on a bloody ship on there. So it's all changed. But ultimately, the tennis court was symbolic of an actual court, how it used to work. So that's what I can say to you there about the law, the recusant vagabond. Mew says it's greed. It certainly is. It's power. Power is what they're about, and money's been a way to that. But more importantly, creating debt to your credit for your estate that you're born to, using it as collateral, is the way that they've took it off you, and then doubled it by getting you acting as the debtor again. Sick. Then they take that hidden ledger when you offer up that death certificate, and that's what they're funding themselves with. Which you used to be able to see if you went into Fidelity. You could put your national insurance number in there and you could see the bonds, the securities and all the stuff that was set against that account off your national insurance. I believe they've stopped that now, so you can't see it. Where are we there? Jerry says it also showed those working against us that yeah, they've done that. What good resources? So there's a good start. That website of mine's got a lot of good stuff on it, although it's not been updated for yonks. And really I should. Where are we going? Jerry, Jace, okay. Mew says, where can I find it online? So you're talking to Mew. Big E, never mistake forgiveness for weakness. Absolutely. It is the greatest strength. Sorry I'm late, but no electricity. Oh, you missed one tonight, me old China. You need to watch it. But absolutely, forgiveness empowers you in a massive way. I mean, it's like idiots that have worked against you and get cross because they can't understand why you don't try and kill them. Because a lot of the times people are trying to set you up, they're doing stuff to you because they want you to react so that you end up getting fucked. And of course, when it's people like me, you've got the bigger higher forces manipulating people that don't like me in order to set me up to do something because they're ready to grab. When you're smart and you know how to do war, you don't do that. You never react to when you know you're being set up, you never give them what they want. And that frustrates the fuck out of them. Frustrates them. You only have to wait for your opportunity. And we won't go any deeper than that because I'll be outing myself on certain mechanics of how I've done war in the past against people that have fucked me over. But you let them play their hand. Let them play their hand. And you don't come back. And when you come back, they don't even know it's you. Now you're a master of war. That's the way to play. And that way, the ones that are setting up these guys that hate you and giving them power to do it, you never get what they're after. And then occasionally I've fallen foul and reacted in the past and suffered for it, But you learn these tricks as you go. But forgiveness is the ultimate because you're letting go of the anger, the hatred, the pain you've felt of these people that have done what they've done. And you forgive them, you free yourself from it. They're not free from it because they've fucking done it. And they then have to deal with that. And it's, and in a lot of cases, you're not giving them the satisfaction that they're after to bolster the idea that they were right all along and you are actually an arsehole. Or you're actually a killer, or so whatever it is they've got going on in their head. You don't give them that. They just fucks their head over. They can't. It's far greater power to... I've had people, right, that have been fucking with me since like 80s. What a waste of their life. Because they never achieved what they wanted to achieve. Because I were onto it. And it was deliberate. You never let them. You play along sometimes to make them think you're doing. And just at that point, when you know if you want to fuck your enemies, that's the greatest way to do it, honestly. And some people spend years and years and years of their whole life focused on nothing but me, to come to naught. What a waste of their life. And I can forgive it because it doesn't really matter to me, but I don't forget that I know that they're still wheeling from it, you know? It's not my problem. I don't care. I didn't waste any longer time than I needed to on them. But forgiveness is a great power because it empowers you. You're not tied to focusing on what it is people want you to focus on. And because that's basically what's going on. You've got other people out there. They want you to... They're trying to force you, manipulate you to think a certain way, act a certain way, waste your time in a certain way. I just don't do that. You know, I'll play out with people, but when I know they're a bit, that's it, and I'll stop. There's no focus anymore going to them. I'm not feeding it anymore. I just do my thing, move on, do my thing. Maybe come back at some time and carry on, but, you know, when you know and you can play the world that way, you don't waste your energy. But he's right, forgiveness empowers you. It's a very powerful tool down here, which is why we need to offer some big form of forgiveness to these people in order they can go on redemption, make well, confess, and then that shit, the dark stuff that they were trapped by, can't come back to hit them. And then the real people, the masters of that dark stuff, they suffer. Because there's nothing worse than these people putting a load of effort and money into something only to lose it. And that's why they were so mad at me when I broke away from them back in the 90s. Because I could tell it with the power, the might, the energy they put into me from being a kid. And I just went, fuck off. Fucking go away. And that infuriated them. Infuriated them more than anything. But then I had to do something drastic in order to fucking knock them off. Which I did. But all is forgiven. You know what I'm saying? All is forgiven. I mean, I can talk to enemies now and it doesn't bother me because they're not my enemies anymore. But I'm not claiming to be an angel either. I created a lot of my own enemies back in day as well because I were a complete nut job. And I accept that as well. And again, that's even easier to forgive people. Especially if you've reckoned with yourself and you've realised that you caused a lot of it. First you forgive yourself, and if you can make it right, make it right. And again, it empowers you. It's like that bag of shit that my first mushroom session showed me. This bag of shit that just got bigger and bigger here. And I just said, what's that? And he said, that's yours. You need to get rid of it. And that was what I was dragging with me from being a kid. And probably some from my past life even. And so I'm going to go and collect some of the old shrooms this year because I think it's time to have a dream quest. I haven't had one since 2003. I remember exactly how it left off last time. Because the game wasn't completely over. And I think it's time. I went and did a dream quest this year. In the August. I'll go and pick them in the August. And that might be very interesting. Whether I'd present to you what happens, I don't know. Because it is a very personal thing for everybody that does it if you do it correctly. And if you have to do it correctly, or you're just going to get the jingle jangle. It's a very serious game if you take it seriously. So that's my plan for August. Yeah. Jerry says, thanks Sean, you're more than welcome. DJ from 88, what is the web address please? Mine, well I can give you that. Oh, hang on. Where are we here? I will have to just open this and I can put it in chat because I can actually do that there. There's about that. So the web address is... Let me go back here. Hey, look at that. It's confusing. I've got two keyboards, two mouse. It gets a bit confusing. There you go. There's the address to that website. But it's a good start. Check out the ecclesiastical deed poll in Latin per curiam Divinati. I sent this to the court. Oh, Jace has put it up. Thanks, Jace. So what's that? Per curiam. Oh, you've put that up in the comments, so I'll have a look at that tomorrow. If the comments come up tomorrow. Yeah, thanks for that, Mark. Hulo Moo says DJ from 88. Thanks, no problem. This week, Sean, I discovered you can put all your data on the blockchain forever. Why do you want to do that? John Smith, the mushrooms are out early this year. Are they indeed? Oh, well, it's been very wet, hasn't it? Yeah, well, aye. So, you're thinking I should go sooner? The old mucker. Mind you, they'll last through to August, I think, won't they? Mind you, I suppose if it starts to get hot. It's a good prompt there, my good man. I might have to go and consider collecting some before July's out. Thanks for that. The recusant vagabond. Sean, you told me about furlough. I refused to take it. I didn't know why at the time, other than my intuition told me. Can you explain again? So basically, if you were employed, you were all within some kind of employment contract, all of you, that you'd signed when you took your job, and they couldn't implement this forced idea that you had to take this bug shot through their employment contracts that existed, because there was nothing of that nature in them. So the big blag they did, we went, oh my God, it's all gone tits up. We need to sort you out for money. The only way we can do that is you need to sign off your old contract, and we're going to offer everybody this furlough system so you get some money. And everybody went, oh, fucking great, we're going to get some money. Not thinking about, because of course you'd just been blasted by the talking heads all over the television telling you you're all going to die and you've got to stay in your house. And then day after it was red hot, right up until the day they knocked it off and then it pissed down. How many people saw that? So that's basically what they did. So they needed to get everybody off their existing employment contracts because there were nothing in them contracts relative to what it is they were trying to force under that book script. So while they had you all shit yourself in shock, whoa, we need to make sure you got some money because you can't go to work, we have to shut everything down. But look what we're going to do, we're going to have got this funding and we're going to make you give it you and have your money, blah, blah, blah. And so you all sack yourself. Everybody sacked themselves off the contract and signed into this new shit. That's what they did. That's the trickery that they carried out there. But the thing is, at the time, you know, I was throwing this out fucking everywhere, telling everybody before it were happening, everything were happening, the lot. But people were just in such shock, they just weren't seeing. You know, some were, but most of the people weren't. John says, I had some magic shrooms a few weeks ago. How were they? I mean, the ones where I get up here are fucking dynamite, mate. They're absolutely dynamite up in Lancashire. So I don't know where you're from. How did it go? How did that go? John. DJ from 88, thanks, no problem. The Lone Rizzler says, John Smith, I'm about 30 minutes behind here, but I've been microdosing mushrooms since last year to help with head issues. Very, very effective. Well, there's a migraines. If you get migraines, that girl here is growing some herb, and one of her mates takes 2 leaves off it when he gets a migraine and eats it, and it goes. I forgot what it's called, but it grows everywhere, and it grows like bilio. So by next week, I'll find out what that is. But 2 leaves, that's all he takes off, this guy, and eats them, migraine gone. So, yeah. I sent myself up for a mushroom trip with a glass of high Vitsy, low S low, and the vinyl on. It didn't touch me. I was gutted. Well, it depends how you take them. So, I'll tell you why I do it. But I don't know whether I'm running risk of getting knocked off here because I'm sort of encouraging people to do the shroom. But you want to collect a big bag, half a bag full. Get them in microwave. Crunch them down to a powder. And then you want a teaspoon. No more. No anymore. A teaspoon. and take it at 9 o'clock. But whatever time you're arranging, as you see, you need to be focused to the spirit world before you even go and collect them, because you want to connect with the spirit world when you're setting off. When you get to the point that you're getting out your car and you're heading on the fields, you want to be connecting with the nature spirits there. Focus to what it is you want from this dream quest, and that they will send you to the right batch. You know when you can. So this is how it works for me. I'll be working in nature. I can't see them. But I'm focused to what I'm doing. Communicating with the nature spirits. So I'm very open to any impulses that come, is basically what I'm saying. And then when I've got to the point where they want me to go, all of a sudden I can see them everywhere. Everywhere. It's like they light up. It's like they light up with lights on. That's when you know you've gone to the ones they want you to take. And then for me, I used to take them at 9 p.m. Religiously. It's a ritual. It's all ritual with this thing. But of course you can decide as long as you tell them. But remember, when the sun goes down, that is the new day. Yeah? The day starts when the sun goes down. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, so if you're having them before, a long time before the sun goes down, you're actually having them at the end of the day. This kind of stuff matters when you're dealing with the shamanic. But each to their own, you know what I'm saying? But I did them for 7 years, and it were a totally shamanic thing for me, and I learnt so much about myself. I learned so much about how the occult works, because they were throwing it at me left, right and centre. So I learned to see how they play it, by what mechanics they play it, by what entities they were playing it. And it helped me out in a big way back then in the old 90s and into 2003. But I'm not, in any way saying they're not a fun thing. They're not there to be played with. And I wouldn't counsel anybody to take them for a jingle jangle, because they will give you something potent anyway. And a lot of people can't deal with it, especially if you're a complete dick, or you're running away from something, a character trait of your own, or some such. It will show you and make you see, and it can affect people sometimes in a bad way. Some people, it won't let them in. Some people, it won't let you in. I don't know what to make of that, but I think from observing others, it depends on your sin, basically, you might say, as to whether they'll let you in or not. You'll always get the colours, the jingle jangle, but that's nothing, that's periphery. If they let you in, it's a different game altogether, completely different game. And I'm sure anybody that's took them seriously knows exactly what I'm talking about. But if you've only had the jingle jangle, you're not going anywhere. You're just giving you the periphery of it. It's a very serious thing, and it shouldn't be taken lightly, not by anybody. And you've got to make sure you're a very strong character, strong mind, and you're prepared to be shown yourself. You've got to be prepared to see yourself, because sometimes it can be a fucking shock to be shown the parts of yourself that you've either not recognised or you're shying away from. And, in the mystery school, when it's real, it's moving you always to a point of meeting the dweller on the threshold, the dark side of yourself. And, you can only have a spiritual rebirth once you've been and shown that. But of course, when you're on that journey, all the dark forces in the world are trying to drag you into their world. And that's where it's a very dangerous game. And I wouldn't wish the mystery school on anybody. But then I would say, one day, in one life, every single one of you is going to have to travel that path. And that is a fact. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Ooh, I wouldn't like to do it again. if you had a bad trip, that's why the Vitsi is for. Well, if you're going to have a bad trip, lad, you better be prepared to have it, because it's going to teach you something. So don't try and avoid that. That's you're entering it in the wrong way. Would be my caution. Let's have a look. I'm laughing. John Smith says, Mark, that is true. Shrooms change your life for the good. They certainly can. But then it depends on who you are, doesn't it, as well? And as I've said, it depends on your sin. Depends on what you're hiding from yourself, what you've done and you've not redeemed yourself for. You've not accepted it, acknowledged it and made it right in yourself. Because, you know, the older you are and the more you've probably put away in a corner, you wouldn't want to be taking that way out, being ready to see yourself. You know, it's not for the faint-hearted, ladies and gentlemen, is all I'll say. Holy spokes, they find you. Do you deliver? Well, I mean, it depends how many I collect. Like I said, I go into this game from the get-go with connection to them. Let's just say, if they fill my bag, then I'll prep all that I've got, and if there's some left, I'll let you know. And if you want to try my method, you're more than welcome. And Mark's crying with laughter. Mew says, you definitely see yourself. It's up to you then. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining. Thank you very much to the mods for modding. And I hope people are going to reckon with what I've said tonight, because that is the reality of everything that's going on today. The guts of it. That's the highest level shit that's working against us all. Here on Blighty, in America, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Europe, and the entire world. It's working against the mind of man and the heart of man. So, with that, I will say thanks for joining, and I shall say this. Till the next time.
electronic